This YCN Sports Wrap special featuring the New Hampshire boys 2017 Division III basketball champion, the Cougars of Kearsarge Regional High School, is presented by Mascoma Savings Bank. They exist to serve you, their customers. Member FDIC. Baba's Bar and Grill in Newberry Harbor. Barton Insurance in New London and Kentucky. Clark's Hardware, what you need and how to do it. Flying Goose Brew Pub, award-winning, family-friendly restaurant and New Hampshire's first solar-powered brewery. Top Stitch Embroidery in Lebanon, the best for your team and so much more.
Hey, welcome to a very special championship edition episode of YCN Sports Wrap. I'm your host, Andrew Zerhide. Thanks for tuning in. This week's show will be all about this year's Kearsarge Cougars boys basketball team, as we'll be chronicling their ride through the playoffs and into the championship. But let's first begin by taking a brief look at the Cougars' regular season. Kearsarge started off the year with a record of 1-2 after Stevens and Hopkinton won close single-digit matchups against the Cougars. But those two teams are arguably the best in the division, so the Cougars began the year with their hands full. They also started off the season with 7 straight away games, but Kearsarge would end up winning their remaining 15 contests en route to the number 1 seed and an impressive 16-2 record. The Cougars averaged nearly 64 points a game while allowing just 43, winning by an average of more than 20 points per contest. Taylor Matos and Tommy Johnson also passed the 1,000th point milestone this year, with Matos getting his on February 16th and with Tommy getting his in the quarterfinals on March 4th. So now let's move on to the playoffs. In the first round, Kearsarge easily took down the 16th seed Winnisquam by a final score of 64-49. The Cougars then faced a tough task in the quarterfinals against a very underrated 8th seeded Campbell. But Kearsarge had beaten them during the regular season and did so once again, winning by a final score of 79-67. This win advanced the Cougars into the semifinals against the 5th seeded Somersworth Hilltoppers. These teams didn't play against each other during the year, but both came into the matchup riding impressive win streaks, so a competitive game was expected. So now let's check out the game to see who's moving on to the D3 finals. The atmosphere at Southern New Hampshire University's Fieldhouse was electric, as nearly 800 rowdy fans showed up to cheer on their team during this Division III boys semi-final. The game started off with a Kearsarge possession after Taylor Matos won the opening tip. Matos scored the game's first bucket off of a tip pass from Josta Rosic. Matos fought hard and stayed with the ball, which resulted in a layup right past 3 Hilltopper defenders. Neither team scored over the next 60 seconds, but Somersworth first got on the board after a transition layup from Brighton Early, assisted by Vincent Loho. 0 points would be scored over the next few minutes, as solid defense, turnovers, and missed shots dominated play. Even wide open attempts weren't falling for either squad. Finally, with 3 minutes remaining in the quarter, Matos broke the 2-2 tie with a silky smooth turnaround jumper. Kearsarge would score again and build a small lead while playing superb defense, with Matos and Hernan both recording blocks. But Somersworth managed to steal and score multiple times on fast breaks toward the end of the first. The second quarter was more of the same, but with even less offense if that's even possible. Kearsarge put up just 7 points, with 5 coming from Matos and 2 from Johnson, but the Cougars only allowed 2 total second quarter points. Yes, just 2. And that came off of a bucket from Somersworth's Ethan Johnson. By halftime, Kearsarge held a 7-point lead with a score of just 15-8, the lowest both teams have scored in a half all year by far. One major number that stood out on the score sheet was the fact that combined, both teams didn't hit a single three-pointer, going 0 for 17. But it was clear where Kearsarge's offense was coming, as Matos scored 13 of Kearsarge's 15 first-half points. Once the third quarter began, the Hilltoppers came out on fire as they would go on a 13-4 run to go up 21-19. Colby Grant was huge, scoring 4 straight buckets, and early threw in a couple of his own, including a go-ahead 16-footer. Kearsarge, however, battled back and regained a 1-point lead at 25-24 heading into the final 8 minutes of play. 50 seconds into the fourth, Grant hit a pair of free throws to put Somersworth back on top 26-25. The Cougars then turned up the heat as they went on a 9-0 run, which included a Tommy Johnson three-pointer, Matos continuing to score, and Hernan with a nice layup to make it an 8-point game with just under 5 minutes remaining. Kearsarge had gained the momentum, but Somersworth wasn't about to go away. They climbed back into the game after Early nailed a big three-pointer, which sparked an 11-4 run to cut the lead to just 1, with over 2 minutes remaining. But Kearsarge was able to solidify their defense, which translated into offense, as Hernan, Johnson, and Matos all kept scoring. With less than 90 seconds remaining, Somersworth was forced to foul, as they were not able to cut into the lead, missing their final 4 shots. Matos, Noah Tremblay, and Joe Starozic were all able to knock down key free throws to push the Cougars' lead up to 11. Kearsarge would go on to win by a final score of 50-39. Taylor Matos easily led all scorers with a whopping 32 points, 18 rebounds, and 7 blocks. He also shot a very impressive 12 for 13 from the free throw line. Tommy Johnson followed him with 11 points and 7 rebounds, and Kyle Hernan grabbed a huge 12 boards while scoring 4 with a block. As for Somersworth, Brighton Early led his team with 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists, while teammate Colby Grant threw in 10 with 5 boards. Neither team shot particularly well, but one statistic stood out: rebounds. Kearsarge out-rebounded Somersworth 55-28, a huge margin which led to multiple second-chance points for the Cougars. Kearsarge improved to 19-2 overall on the year, and they advance into the Division III championship, where they'll face off against the Cardinals of Stevens.
1, 2, 3. Let's go.
In that fourth quarter alone, Kearsarge scored 25 points, which matched the same amount the team scored during the game's first 3 quarters. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when this special edition of YCN Sports Wrap returns, we'll be bringing you a post-game interview with Cougars head coach Nate Camp. We'll be right back.